What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Homebrew Subaru. In this episode, I'm planning on sticking the green bastard back into the Forester. So in order to get this party started, I need to get the engine back up on the crane. And hopefully this bag kept this thing relatively clean. It looks like it did. I need to get it up on the crane, not only to get it installed, but I need to take care of the back here. So we need to install the clutch first. And that oil separator cover plate, I usually like to pop those off and reseal those with some new RTV. And then once the clutch is on, can dump it in. Well, it looks like it got a little dust in there.
In the west, I could see clear a vision of us in a slipstream. And through the haze, you meet me here. Show me the way that you want it. That you want
Well, there it is, back in the hole. I've got the bell housing bolts all tightened up except for the starter motor. Now, I was very nice with it for about 10 minutes, but when something frustrates me for that long, I end up getting a little bit violent, and violence for about 20 seconds is what ended up getting this back together. And I do consider myself a rather strong man, but having to shake something like that indicates that there may be an easier way to do it that I'm not aware of. But anyways, I've got the throwout bearing, or the release bearing here. I'll just sit there on the camera so we can get a good listen to this thing. It is tortured. It is done, baked. And I'm surprised that I didn't actually hear it. I'm glad that it's changed now, because if there's even a little bit of play in it that I can feel, and if that came apart, it would have just destroyed everything. Now that I have the engine in place, I'm going to go ahead and replace the clutch hydraulics. So both the clutch master and slave are being changed, and also the hydraulic line are going to get changed out. So because they're right out in the open now, I might as well do them. I'll put in the starter, and actually I need to get this bracket off so I can paint it as well.
in the west, I could see clear a vision of us in a slipstream. And through the haze, you meet me here. Show me the way that you want it. That you want it. That you want it. That you want it.
Well, slowly but surely I've been making my way through here. I've got the clutch system all installed and fully bled. Seems to be working the way that it should. The heater hoses are on, the starter motor's in. I've come across some of the back here and done some of those electrical connections, and up to the front installed the bracket onto the power steering, did a bunch of painting, the pumps installed, got this bracket and this guy installed with some new stainless hardware. The alternator's on. I reused the belt that came off because it was relatively new. I'm waiting for some of these smaller pieces to dry, just the radiator top mounts and the fuel filter holder, some wiring retaining bracket, some wiring covers, and power steering reservoir retaining bracket. The air filter, this is actually a K&N filter that I've had taken out of one of my old cars many years ago. It didn't have a lot of mileage on it, and I cleaned it at the time and tossed it in the Forester. It's been in there this whole time. So I am going to clean it and reuse it. This is an awesome filter for these air boxes, and even though it looks dirty, it's not filthy. I've got a new upper and lower rad hose and new stainless clamps to put those on. The 4 stainless clamps cost me as much as the 2 rubber hoses did. And then some new manifold gaskets for the bottom, because I am planning on reusing this unequal length header. So I've gotten a little bit ahead of myself putting stuff together here and not turn the camera on, but I've managed to get the header installed. The bolts are all torqued up, and I've got a feeling I'm likely gonna have a leak back here. That's not really the right gasket. It does look like it's gonna seal it, but I really, until I run it, it's probably gonna bake through that gasket eventually. And then just above the pipe over on this side, it comes really close to one of the power steering lines, which I pried up out of the way, but I'm gonna have to take some heat wrap and just kind of put it around those lines to try and insulate them from the exhaust a little bit. And up top I have the rad installed with the new rad hoses and the stainless clamps. The power steering reservoirs bracket has all been painted and installed with some new stainless bolts. I've got this bracket taken off here and that kind of section cleaned up a little bit. Started routing some more stuff like the throttle cable and the cruise control cable, and then going back through here I've got the connections at the starter and the main ground done up. And then kind of leading up into the front here, I've set the stainless pan in place. This is going to be the new battery tray. I've measured everything off. I know this is going to work. I also want to drill a small hole up here in the side of it so that I got a little drain hole if any water does collect in it from condensation or whatever. Kind of clean things up here in a little bit, straighten up a little bit more, put the windshield washer bottle in, start thinking about the fuel filter and ignition wires. And I've got to also start cleaning my air filter because that needs to sit overnight. Well, I'm slowly coming to the end here. I've got most of it together. The fuel filter's all plumbed. The ignition wires are on. I've got those throttle cables attached. I've got this portion of the airbox in. The bolts that held it in were just so rotten, there's no way I could reuse them. So the bolts, you see those red bolts down at the bottom there, they're actually out of the trunk lid of the RS. It's kind of funny some of the places I reuse things like that. I've got that bracket all on with new stainless hardware, and if you can see them behind here, like the windshield washer bottle and this fuse panel are all in with stainless hardware. My battery tray, I have the battery tray drilled and bolted in, so 2 3/8 stainless bolts with washers, completely bolting that thing right down to that shelf of metal that I've got in there, welded in there. And then I got one drain hole down in that corner, and then as you can see there's holes down along here on the side that I can use these J hooks that should be able to fasten my battery in place. And then the bottom of it, I'm just going to basically use some of these old rubber mats, cut the size to kind of insulate from the stainless bolts on the bottom, and just insulate the thing as a whole. Topped up the coolant, but I'm just going to let it sit overnight as well to let some of the air come out. and I've got my oil to go in, and should be pretty much ready to turn the key. I'll just give everything a double check first thing in the morning before I do. Just don't want to miss anything, and make sure that we're good to go. Alright, here it is the following morning. As you might be able to tell from my voice, I've got the air box installed, the air filter is all cleaned up, and the battery is all installed, fastened in. I just have to hook up the leads onto it. I'm gonna say that was like maybe $35 Canadian. I think the pan was like 18, and the bracket kit was like 17. All shipped from Amazon, if you're wondering. So I've got coolant all topped up, the oil's in it, and I'm just gonna hook up the battery and see what happens. Well, cross your fingers and toes. Well, the front pipe is definitely leaking. Sounds rumbly though. Yeah, it makes about the same amount of noise as it did. And you can hear it does quiet down considerably after it warms up. This little bit of steam you see is just a little bit of the coolant that was spilled along the top of the rad, but I have allowed the thermostat to open and the coolant's topped right off, and it seems to be running really good. Got a ton of response and power. The exhaust is obviously leaking in a few places, but that's something I can address in the future. Just gonna let it sit and run for a little while and then double check for any leaks. Make sure the fan's just kicked on, nice. And yeah, then I'm probably gonna go out and enjoy some of this day. And well, some days are a lot nicer here. Today's March 23rd. Now obviously there's some drastic changes to the visual appearance underneath the hood, but as far as you guys know, I do have brand new head gaskets and a new clutch. This thing has been completely resealed, and being as clean as it looks, you know, if I'm far away from home and it comes into the situation where I have some sort of breakdown and I've got to get into a shop, they aren't going to turn this thing away for being a clapped out piece of shit. They're actually going to go, oh, well, this thing doesn't look too bad, pop the hood, oh, he's actually, you know, got some stuff done here. And it is that way in the trade. If you pull up in your 95 4Runner and it's got 500,000 kilometers on it and it just barely makes it into the driveway because the, you know, the back end's falling right out of it, likely that shop isn't even going to put it on their hoist. There is a few smaller things like that wiper shroud, the wiper arms, the headlights, I want to clear those out a little bit better. But, you know, the thing's filthy. My entire garage is destroyed with filth and just dust and shit lying everywhere. So it's stuff I really have to take care of before, you know, doing a lot more. I do have something planned for the roof, which I think people will enjoy. It's going to be a little bit different, but, you know, I've got to do some major cleaning, and with the sun coming out, I might just take a week off YouTube. I've really burned myself out. Since doing the sanding, I've been sore every day, and I just haven't gotten away from being sore. So if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here and you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Leave your questions and comments further down below, and I will see you in the next one. Sure you still want to do this? And they say violence doesn't accomplish anything. But what do you think just put this engine in?